Hey guys, welcome to the very first episode of Davy's Reviews History of Horror. So, before this video continues, please like and subscribe to my channel as more reviews will be coming in the near future. But, in order to begin this journey, we gotta have a nice little intro. So, let's begin! Alright guys, so now that we are here, and that nice little intro was a little bit cool, still probably needs work, but that's okay. Anyway, our first trip, our first journey into film reviews of History of Horror starts in the year 1933. The Mystery of the Wax Museum, 1933. Ivan Igor, played by Lionel Atwill, is the sculptor at a famous wax museum in London when his partner, Joe Worth, played by Edwin Maxwell, burns down the museum for the insurance money. Igor is trapped inside. Years later, he reemerges in New York as the curator of a new wax museum, which boasts incredibly lifelike statues. When model Joan Gale, played by Monica Bannister, goes missing, however, reporter Florence Dempsey, played by Glenda Farrell, follows the clues to Igor's museum, where she discovers a terrible secret. Now, this film was released in February 18th of 1933. It was directed by Michael Curtiz, distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures, based on the book The Waxworks by Charles S. Belden, and music by Cliff Hess, who was uncredited for his time. Alright folks, so Mystery of the Wax Museum, 1933. What is my take on that? Well, first off, I have to say, horror was a lot different back then than it is today. For example, there's no music. There really isn't. And it explains why Cliff Hess was uncredited, because there was only music in the intro and the ending credits. That's it. Otherwise, there was none. So you're sitting there. It wasn't a silent film, so there was dialogue, there is talking, there is some sound effects, but you're sitting there watching this film, and it's cheesy. If you're into the 1930s style filmmaking, you kind of learn from that. For example, there's a lot of, you could tell it was filmed from a set. Alright, and this is my review, my critique of the whole thing. So, you could tell they filmed on sets back then, which, the sets were a lot smaller and, very practical in the 1930s. So, in all honesty, it was cheesy. The acting was very cheesy. I mean, you have the reporter, the female reporter, and she's all up-hibbity, like, all right, dude, like, let's do this. I got you there, bud. Like, very, very energetic. The feel of it being a horror film, me personally, I did not feel it. I felt like I was watching maybe Wizard of Oz. Like, it was more upbeat than usual. There were some aspects of it that made it creepy. One of them being a scene where he's stealing the body from the morgue. You have no idea who this is. I mean, in all honesty, like, the first thing, you just see this dude prancing around. Very nasty looking makeup, which I do have to hand it. The practical makeup effects was really cool. But just sneaking around and grabbing a dead body or putting the dead body out the window, like, I don't know, it really, I don't call it a scary film. Maybe back in the 1930s but for me, it's a no. Very cheesy. The filming itself wasn't all that bad. They very heavily focused on the fade to black transition or the crossfade transitions, and they used a lot of it. And you can tell that's because their scenes weren't all drawn out, and some of it didn't flow. So to piece together these scenes, they pretty much threw a fade to black or threw a crossfade. And to me, it was very comic. The version I watched was available to me on HBO Max, so I do recommend, if you guys do want to check it out and you're into that stuff, you can view it on HBO Max. It's a restored, colored version. I believe the College of UCLA did the restoration on the film, and I don't know, some of the transitions cut the scene short, in my opinion. For example, there was a scene where she's talking on the phone. The reporter is talking on the phone, and as she's talking, it fades to black and just cuts. Like, fades to black, cuts her off from speaking. No audio transition to it, just almost a straight cut. And you're like, what just happened? So, in a sense of my review here, folks, and you'll probably hear a lot from this as I watch older flicks, because usually I do not do that. But I'm going to rate this film. I gotta give it 4 stars out of 10, in my opinion. I mean, there was just a whole lot wrong. The acting, like I said, was very upbeat. Honestly, the best acting in the whole thing was probably the deaf guy. Yeah, there's a deaf guy in it. He might have been deaf in real life, who knows, but he probably had the best acting out of everything. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. I give it a 4 out of 10. So it's just one of those old flicks that definitely probably worked for its time, but nowadays, and the progression that horror films are now, it didn't have no fear factor. It really didn't. I felt no fear factor whatsoever. And that's one thing that I enjoy about horror films, is the fear factor, the, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, like that fright. And I couldn't feel that with this. There was no music. And the best part, folks, the fighting. Yes, the fighting. It was literally no sounds, hardly any punching sounds, maybe a very select few, but they were throwing themselves all over that set. Like, you can see it, and it's so hilarious because there's nothing, no music, no sound. It's just like it's so cheesy. It really is. It's very cheesy. But yes, definitely check it out if you're into this, these old style kind of films. If you're in the newer generation and you're used to these really scary horror films, or this isn't even a slasher. Like, I don't even know what to call it back then. Like, I really don't. It was horror. It was a horror film, but I don't know where to. Maybe a cult type classic, maybe. But if you're into the modern day stuff and you go back to watch this, you're not gonna be a fan of it. You're gonna be just like me, sitting there like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. And you gotta also look, 1930s was the beginning of this stuff. So, like, Dracula was 1931, and once Universal picked up Dracula and Frankenstein, like, other companies started doing their thing. And this was one of Warner Brothers' first horror films that they produced and distributed. Like, this is one of their first ones. So, everybody starts fresh somewhere. Nothing wrong with that, especially back in the 1930s. You only had things to use or do. But, like I said, I do give effort on the makeup effects. Those burns were pretty freaky looking. Of course, the wax work, like you can even tell some of the wax people were actors trying to stand still. One, I think, even blinked at one point. Like, it's something that I'll probably never watch again. In all honesty, I will probably never watch it again, and I'm okay with that. So, yeah, 4 out of 10, folks. That's it. That's all I can give it. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like and subscribe. Once again, like and subscribe. Follow. We'll see what happens next time. So enjoy, folks. Adios. Have a great night.